Alright, let's get this show on the road. Welcome everyone to Wellington JS. We've just got a few sort of little announcements at the start. We should announce the do we have like welcome everyone to Wellington JS. We've just got a few sort of little announcements at the start. I think I should mute that. How do I mute my HDMI? I think I should mute that. So I am. Cool. So we've probably got some health and safety stuff. We don't know them.
There are bathrooms somewhere.
The bathrooms are back there.
And if there's a fire, you go very slowly out the door and down the steps so you can. Don't run, don't
All right. So thanks to Talent Army for all the lovely healthy snacks that we've got. Although I did buy some cupcakes. Thanks to Biz Dojo for the venue. We've got any news? Anything interesting happening in the JavaScript world? No dates? Big news. I know events around town. Sorry, did you have? NPM 5? There's a few events on. I know that there's a startup weekend in Kapiti sometime this month. Any other events around town? We're really organised today. Anyone got any jobs on offer or anyone looking for work? We're all employed? Good.
I'm looking for work. But I wasn't really sure of
well, maybe you can post something on our meetup page or something you do know, or the JavaScript. Here we go. Segue JavaScript Society of New Zealand Slack is a great place to go, and there's a job forum there, which is pretty entertaining because often it results in critiques of job descriptions, and that's us. So, Michael, we've got a tool.
There you go. Oh, nice, mirrored and optimized for Retina. Okay. That's perfect. Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Michael Yin, and I'm a Ruby on Rails developer at Boost. But not today. Today I'm a JavaScript developer because I'm introducing a tool which is built by JavaScript, by the way, and works for JavaScript developers and other developers using other languages as well. So here's the name of the tool is called BNB because I stole the idea of another package with the name being hotel. So I name it as the BNB. So yeah. So the bottom one is the hotel. So and the other alternative is called POW. And I'm not sure whether you guys have used any of those. And so how many of you guys have heard of use any of those? Nice. Only one. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so I got something to talk about. So the tool is also an alternative into those two, and yeah. So let's go for it. So let's say what are the problems? So first problem I think the tool is addressing is getting faster switching between different apps. So, for example, for me, and I guess for most of the people, we build when we're building a web app, which is a app runs in a browser and through HTTP, and you launch your app using a command line like blah blah, not index.js, not npm start or real server, and then it runs on your local host. So the first problem is that when I have multiple apps running, and so this tool helps switching between them faster. And the other one is, for example, if we have two apps and they are calling each other using API, it can be hard to configure or struggle. You might struggling with how should I configure, which should be the right way, or which way should be more beautiful. And the other problem is emulating SSL. Maybe it's not very critical, but sometimes you just want to emulate the secure environment in your browser. And it's not really secure, but you want to make your browser think that you are using the SSL visiting this page. So, but most of the time, your app or the framework we are using is mostly designed for just HTTP, and setting up a SSL is never a 0-second thing. And yeah, after all, it's all just sheer aesthetic paranoia, and because local hosts, and they are sometimes a little bit annoying. Okay, so let's go to demo. Okay, so we've got a few demos. Let's go to the first demo. So first demo is let's set it up, and it's a GUI app, and we open it. Okay, so before we see the demo, I set up some dummy app, Hello World apps, to make use of them, because we want to develop something. Okay, so first one is my app 1, and is it big enough?
Yep.
And it has it listened to the 3000, and it's writing Hello World, which is pretty simple. So if we do node and app.js, then we will be able to see hello from app 1. That's working. But so the problem of switching projects arises if you're at the same time you're working on the second app. The second app is exactly the same with the first app, except for its name being different. So it's also using the 3000. So the problem is you can't keep them up at the same time. So let's show how should we do it. So let's close the first app. They are all closed, and there's no internet now. There is. Okay, so first we give it a name, my app 1, and specify the command to run the server, which is node app.js, and the directory. There we go. And app will be running. But the one setup for setting this up is, for example, if we don't want to change host, that's fine. So I found a way which is brought up by Hotel, the other programs. It's a great way. It's using the HTTP proxy. So I already set up the HTTP proxy to use the BNB as the HTTP proxy. So by default, it's localhost and 2999. So let's use that proxy. By the way, this is just a Chrome plugin for switching proxy. And so, yeah. It's not on localhost. It's my app one dev. And when you visit that, the BNB is launching the app for you. And there we go. So it's serving that app from app one. And let's set up another app. So we want to set the two apps up at the same time. So second app is the same. Yeah, hello from F2. Okay, so now that's good. So we can switch between them. And it only launches the app when you are visiting them. And that's pretty much the same as the hotel does. And another benefits that we got from this is sometimes if we are calling the API from another app and on your local machine, and configuring the API calls can be a little bit more elegant. So I got let's go to the second demo is calling the API from another app. And so I've set up another app, which is app 3. And let's see the source code. So app 3, let's zoom it up. It's pretty much the same as the other two apps, but except for requesting the API 1 by specifying the domain name, which is the same as what we use in the browser, myapp1.dev, and adding that to the response. But how do we use that is we only need to specify the request library to use the BNB as a proxy, as a global proxy. And yeah, that'll do. So whenever you have multiple apps as a single solution or a product, then you're struggling how to configure them in a developed environment, you can just configure them all using the .dev main. And yeah, then they all runs on your laptop and set them all up in the BNB. And let's see it. So now we set up my app 3, and it's using the same command. My app 3. There we go. Yeah, it's got a response from app 1. Yeah, so if we're not using them, sometimes the hassle is being like we have a lot of configuration, especially using ports. If you're all using localhost, another solution for that would be different ports for different apps. But assigning those ports for different apps can be a hassle for bootstrapping a project or for introducing to new devs. Yeah, that's yeah. And yeah, emulating SSL. Yeah, so this one is something I did more than the hotel app. So it's you got SSL out of box, and it appears in the Chrome as a green one, but you know it's not really green because you're not really owning that domain. So how it works is you have to trust the CA, self-signed CA in your system or in a browser and mark it as trusted. and protect it, don't lose it somewhere else. And the CA signs it, then the browser will trust this program, BNB, and then BNB will be able to serve your browser using the SSL certificate. Yeah, and we can see it's valid as a green log. And let's view the certificate chain. The program will self-sign CA certificates whenever it launches at the first time, and you will get a chance to download it. We'll see it somewhere else how to download it, and the BNB will sign your request using that CA and for each individual domain. So that's in that case you will be able to get a green log in your browser. I think that's the first reason I was thinking about starting this project, because there was an issue in the hotel that people want that, and it seems not very critical, so it wasn't implemented. Yeah, and there's actually another reason that I started this project is the terminal, and so I have to show something that's being pretty much used in Rails. So the problem is that in hotel, we don't get an operable terminal. So because I have an example Rails programs, it's pretty much also a hello world. So if I launch Rails server and port 3000, I will be able to access it on 3000, but it's pretty much like other apps. But sometimes there's a debug. It's probably in some other frameworks as well. You have a way to debug the server code by putting in special command to launch the debugger. Oops. Let's show how do I do that. Oops. So if I want to debug here, like the debugger in JavaScript, then when I visit that page, I will get interrupted in my terminal. Then I will be able to have a terminal and do all the thing like 1 + 1 is 2, or viewing all the methods. Yeah. So if some program is launching it for you, you need to be able to access the terminal as well, so you can input something or view something. So it is addressing that as well. So let's stop it on my local host and run it on using BNB. First, let's set it up. My app 4, and it's using Rails server and port. Yeah, how we set it up is draining the port number from the porting environment variable. That's pretty much probably the default for many frameworks. And my app 4. So when we start it, we will be able to see. Oh, not yet. Oh, there we go. We'll be able to have a terminal running here, so we can see the terminal in the app, in the BNB app. And yeah, so we'll be able to do things like one. In this case, yeah. And one special thing is about it is it's shipped as a Electron package, or a GUI package, because it's written as a Node.js programs at the very beginning. But I found it maybe if we want to just run it on your laptop or OS X, and probably the easiest way is to launch it using GUI, and then you can set it as auto running, and you can set it here on your tray. But it still works as an npm package, and so I'm going to show you running it as an npm package. I've installed the npm package already. Yeah, and I'm not going to install it again. So there we go. And guess what? We can access the interface in the browser as well. And that's the same functionalities. And so whenever we want to go some app, we can just go bmb.dev and find the app, then go. There we go. Yeah. And the one interesting thing is the main code is mostly written for nzjs, except for the front-end code being a little bit with Electron. So what we get is when we have even when we run it in Electron, we still can access the app in the browser as long as you set up the browser to use the proxy. Yeah, and yeah, here's a link for downloading your CA certificates on your machine, and whenever it runs, it generates a new one on the new machine. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the demo, and I think since it's a Node.js program, it's good to share program. So here's the package.json with dev dependency and production dependency mixed up all together. And the red one I've marked is one is not forged. It helps us when you are doing all the crypto stuff, which is dealing with SSL. And it's a pure JavaScript one, so it runs on Windows as well. It doesn't rely on OpenSL or other binary package. And I really thank this library very much because I couldn't find any alternatives. It's not PTY. It's dealing with the terminal, because the terminal is not just string. When you want to have all the control character and want to put it in the fixed size terminal and have all the thing. And so this library deals with that. And what's more is it's deal with the terminal on the Windows as well. And it's quite tricky through another dependency. And here's a WS, it's WebSockets. So because I will use the communication using WebSockets, so that's making adding an Electron app much easier. It's not two code base, it's just one code base using the WebSocket. And finally, it's built upon Electron for the GUI version. And another point is something for Electron is I found building for Electron, so currently I build it against Linux and Windows and OS X. And it's quite a breeze because Electron has a very good package, which is, I haven't marked it as red, it's an Electron builder. And I set up the CI for the AppVeyor CI for building on Windows, which is quite easy, and Travis CI for OS X build and Linux build as well. And another thing is the Xterm.js, which is a library for handling the terminal on your browser. I think this is the best library I've found so far, because it's used by Visual Studio Code and used by SourceLayer, its own product, so it's being maintained actively. And and all the keys are handled, all the keyboard events are handled correctly, expected, yes, which is really good. And finally, use React.js to build the interface. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And, any questions? There we go. Yeah, yeah.
Does it do anything special like if the app crashes? Like, does it like boot it back up or is it up to you?
Yeah, the data is saved as JSON in your home folder. So.
Oh, sorry. If the app you're running, like if my web server crashes, then I'm running in it. Would that like reboot my web server?
Yes, it will. It will when you try to access the server next time, because
right.
it boots up your app whenever you access it.
Right.
And what's more is that it's smart enough to wait for your app to listen to the port when your app is, for example, whenever you launch the command, it's not ready. It's not ready yet, but so the app checks whether your app listens to the specific port. Then it will give you access to the server. So ideally you shouldn't get any like error message. What you get will be the final one.
And if the server was if you're just not using it or something, would it like shut it down at all? Like after a while, so you're not.
Are you expecting a timeout, like you haven't used it for 5 minutes?
Yeah. Do anything like that? I guess that could be annoying in development. So.
Yeah, that's actually part of the plan.
Right.
That's the next step. I mean, yes, ideally we want to have that. Yeah. But currently, it only shuts it down when you press the stop button or restart. Yeah. But you can do it on the interface as well. There is a stop button, and it's quite easy. And that's one thing I found a little bit annoying with the hotel is the add-on process is not very clean. It doesn't wait for your program to exit. That's it. Okay.
Does it get in the way of live reloading or anything like that? Or does that work smoothly?
Probably not, because it's when you're launching your app, so the app doesn't know what's inside your app. So BNB only launches it up. So live reloading, I think it's the same as it was. So if the framework supports live reloading, then it does. But if you want to change something that's like changing the configurations or changing the environment, and you need to, usually if you're just launching a new terminal, you want to stop it and start it again. So in Hotel, you have a restart button and simply get it out. But it's not too magic.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
So, which kind of languages does it support? Can you do PHP as well, easy?
Yes, you can run PHP as well. But you probably have to specify the command to run PHP, because you can run PHP -server and specify the port and column and the port as well. I can show you the command actually. Yeah, so because it only what this program only needs to know is which port you're listening to. So when you're launching the PHP server and you are reading that port from this environment variable, and when BNB launches your programs, it gives you a port replacing that environment variable. So you're listening to that port. So that's how it communicates. All right.
How did you get the BNB package name BNB? Sorry? Was it BNB package name BNB really available?
Yes, it is. It was. Actually, I named it as a motel at the first place, but because it's changing from hotel to motel, it's just one letter taken. So I tried BNB. Well, it's actually available. Yeah. What's your name? There you go. Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's something I've skipped over a little bit. So I'm going to go back to the state where I haven't installed the BNB first. As actually just here, it's actually in your kitchen access because uh, because Chrome uses your OS X's native kitchen certificates stash. So all your CAs are here. So I'll have to trust a single CA domain as trusted, which is here, BNB at, oh, that's the one. And so I have to manually mark it as trusted. If I don't, for example, I'll show you now. If I mark this one as just delete it because it's manually imported. Um, and what will happen is for example, if we go to my app one using HTTPS, it's actually still working, but it's just, there's no green lock anymore because this certificate is signed by an unknown CA. And you might still get, can still use it if you want to press the proceed to the domain. But yeah, most of the stuff pretty much still works. So you don't have to trust it unless you want to. And yeah, about CA, yeah, it is a security concern. So what it does is whenever it launches on your machine at the first time, it generates a self-signed CA and store it in your home, in a JSON file in your home folder, which is here. It's home and .bnb.json. And by the way, that's where all the data being stored. And the permission of this folder is 0600. So it should be something secret to yourself. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so the browser will look there, insert, and then you have to actually manually go on Chrome, go on the and say, that's I trust it.
Oh yeah, yes, you have to. So currently the browser doesn't know this cert because browser has no reason to look into your home folder. So what you need to do is get into BNB first and download this cert, which is a cert stored there, and then open it, import it in your operating system and mark it as trusted. Then you will then restart your browser for sure, and you will be able to get a green lock. So the risk is on yourself if you really want to see a green lock. Yeah, that's it. Does that answer your question? Sorry. And any questions? Okay, that's good. Thank you. And yeah, I'll post. Oh, I think I've already posted the link to the GitHub to the meetup.com yesterday, so you should be able to find it in the meetup comment section. And thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Michael. That looks great. Right. So my name's Ryan. I work for the fire service, doing C# mostly at the moment. But right now I'm a JavaScript developer as well. I'm also an organizer of the Wellington JS conference, and I should have said at the start, Wellington JS meetup. I should have said at the start we're looking for presenters. So anyone that wants to say something to talk about your projects and whatnot, come in. Yep. Suggest things. Come and talk to us. Cool. So anyway, for like the last 20 years or something, we've been holy grail of write once, run everywhere programming, and we've come close a few times, made it until now. Anyone have any ideas about what could be this write once, run everywhere sort of program? Any language? No? Java? Yep. No. The answer is going to be disappointing and infuriating because it is C. So I didn't say it was going to be easy. And by C, I actually mean C++, Rust, pretty much any non-garbage collected languages that can compile to LLVM. Well, almost. The problem is, so they can compile natively for desktops, compile natively for mobile. You can even use them to write kernels. And with nzjs and WASM, you can compile to the web. The problem is that in all these scenarios, the only sort of UI paradigm, or not even paradigm, but the only UI library which is available cross-platform is OpenGL. So it's not actually a very usable thing. Oops. So what is WASM? To talk about WASM, I should talk about ASM. So ASM.js was invented by these guys over here. They realized with OpenGL being ported to the web for WebGL that that some of the new primitives that were introduced, like typed arrays, meant that they could get a subset of JavaScript and make it really, really fast. So if you cast all your numbers to integers and you only use typed arrays, you can do a lot really, really quickly with not much. And at the same time, this guy here was working on a project where he realized that if you made a huge array of numbers, you could fake C stack, you could fake memory, and you could build a virtual C environment in the browser. And this wasn't a new idea. Adobe was doing something similar with ActionScript 3 a while before. So anyway, they Mozilla had these two projects, and they thought, well, this is something. So they went out, they built a prototype version of Firefox, and they went out to Epic Games, and in a week, Epic ported Unreal 3 engine over to JavaScript. And if I go over here, so this is Unreal 3 engine running in the browser. So the performance is near real time. It's chugging because this is a crappy Mac. And you can see you can interact with the environment. It's all pretty with lots of shaders. All right, so that was ASM.js. So what's WASM? Well, JavaScript is called the assembly of the web, but it's not really. It's a programming language that humans can type, and because of that, it's quite big both. So function is 8 letters long. Let is 3 letters long. That's too much for a computer. When you're dealing with these applications, they're several megs big, often several hundred megs, and that's a lot of data to push across the wire. And that's a lot of data to pass at the other end as well. So WASM is pretty much ASM, but smaller. So they took JavaScript and they shrunk it down to bytecode. So this is C. This is nzjs. So you can see here, it's using bitwise operators to cast numbers as integers. And then this is the WASM that it compiles to. So I have a little bit of a demonstration here. I was going to live code this, but I chickened out. Zoom in. So if anyone's done coding interviews, this is question 101, Fibonacci sequence. So this is Rust. I've got a Fibonacci function here. You can see here, out of interest, this part here, when you're generating a WASM application, you have to tell it how much memory it's going to use. It can allocate in demand, but it's really, really slow. So you have to say, oh, I need this much memory, and if it goes over that, the application crashes. So Fibonacci Rust is expression orientated, so it's just returning this statement, and then it's returning 1 or the Fibonacci. And then we've got the same in JavaScript. So it's exactly the same function. And down here, I've got 2 function calls here. One is run the Fibonacci in JavaScript, one's run it in Rust. And then we'll compare how long it takes to do each one. And we do 40 iterations. All right, so I'm just compiling it here. Trying to. Why is this frozen? Ah. So it's generating. So it's generated an ASM.js file and it's generated a WASM file. If we go back in here, we can see just what the ASM.js is. So that little program outputted this much. So if we thought CoffeeScript was bad, it's not as bad as it used to be. It used to be, a Hello World used to be about 6 megs because it would output the entire standard library. All right, so down here, I'm running fib.js, which does 40 JavaScript, or uses JavaScript to calculate 40 Fibonacci sequences, and you can see it took 1021 milliseconds. So if I do it in Rust, so this is in the WASM.js, it took 635 milliseconds to do the same thing. So it's quite a big speed increase, it's almost double. I don't know if I can inside the, yes I can. So if we, so the first one was fib.js, 1021, so it took more than a second, and the other one, it's almost half that for Rust. Cool. So how useful is it? It's very limited, actually. So as I said, the only UI is OpenGL or WebGL. And if you want to cross the boundary into JavaScript land, it's quite slow. So converting the types from JavaScript types into WASM types or C types is really, really slow. So there's an application called Rust Web Platform, which is trying to be sort of a DOM library built exclusively in Rust, and I did some benchmarks on it. I found it about 100 times slower than JavaScript. So you get a lot of speed increase, or you get 50% speed increase in your data, and then 100 times slower when you're actually dealing with it. So kind of useful. So it was designed for games. You can get Unity compiles for it, Unreal compiles for it, probably gaming engines compile to it. All major browsers support it, but you do need Firefox Nightly for the quickest browser, and they all need to be, it needs to be enabled in about config. So So one of the use cases I was looking at, I'm a contributor to mobile.kit, which is a WYSIWYG editor, and I was looking at building collaboration into it. So I thought, so the collaboration engine that I'm building is built in TypeScript, but I thought, what would happen if I did a lot of it in Rust? So I took sort of the core of it and put it into Rust and did some benchmarks, and I found it about 3 times quicker than TypeScript. So I think in the future it could be quite useful in frameworks, even if it's not useful to us as developers. So Glimmer, which is Ember's rendering engine, runs on a VM, which takes bytecode and does lots of stuff to it and outputs changes to the DOM, or virtual DOM diffing in React. Those are good candidates. Machine learning, AI, pretty much any high performance computing. Their end goal is for it to be about 80% bare metal performance. So how useful will it be? Is it a JavaScript killer? Do we all have jobs in a few years? So they are adding DOM support to the specification, but there's a lot of politics around that. They need it to be safe, and these languages aren't safe that are compiling to it. But they are adding garbage collection to it, which means we might get languages like C#, Swift, and we might even find even TypeScript and all the sort of JavaScript. The languages which compile to JavaScript might just compile to WASM in the future. So will it kill JS? I've already said that. So I think not. Productivity is really important, which is why we don't program in C on desktops. Ecosystems are really important. Community is really important. And also, we're talking sort of 10 years down the track here, and who knows what the web's going to look like in 10 years. Who knows? Cool. So that was a brief introduction.
I can think of a scenario that's really useful because I'm working on a project with the big images, and are too big for canvas. Using canvas, on the road, JavaScript implementation of some images. Using Python, we can compile existing C library and use that.
Yeah, so there are people who've compiled lots of interesting things, like there's a full SQLite that runs in JavaScript, SQLite into it. So yeah, any existing image libraries, as long as they're C, and they should come along pretty easily. Cool. All right. Well, thank you. And do we have a pub lined up? No? Hang around, there's more food at the back and more drinks. So, thank you.